Yossel Mashel Slovo was an anti-apartheid activist and politician from South Africa. A Marxist-Leninist, he was a prominent member of the African National Congress, a long-time leader and theoretician in the South African Communist Party, and a commander of the ANC's military branch, uMkhonto Sizwe. Slovo served as a delegate to the June 1955 Multiracial Congress of the People, which drafted the Freedom Charter. After serving a 6-month sentence in prison in 1960, he became a prominent figure in uMkhonto Sizwe the following year. He conducted operations against the apartheid regime from the United Kingdom, Angola, Mozambique, and Zambia, while living in exile from 1963 until 1990.
Slovo, most of you, but the South African government would like to see him dead. For they believe this white man, the chairman of South Africa's Communist Party and Nelson Mandela's old comrade, is the mastermind of the escalating violence by black rebels of the African National Congress, the ANC. Over the past 3 years, young blacks seeking an end to apartheid have either been gunned down or jailed by the thousands in the black townships. But now the violence is moving from those black townships into the heart of white South Africa. And when the ANC's black commandos strike, inevitably the government and its white supporters blame Joe Slovo.
He kills innocent kids like this. I'm walking here on the street, a bomb can explode. My kid, your kid. And people want to call him a bloody hero. They should kill him. That's what they should do.
I think he's an enemy of the whole Western world, not only of South Africa.
He works for Moscow, my friend. He works for Moscow.
In 1926, Joe Slovo was born in Lithuania. At 9 years old, he and his parents relocated to South Africa, Johannesburg, where his father drove vans. I was born in 1926 in a village in Lithuania, in the Soviet Union. Of course, at that time, Lithuania was not part of the Soviet Union. The people in the village were very poor, and so the heads of families used to go and look for work in other places, just like in the rural areas in South Africa. My father left when I was 2 years old and went to Argentina. He worked there for some time, and then the Great Depression came in 1929. Slovo joined the Communist Party while working at SA Druggists. He was about 16, but he tried to join a little bit earlier. The party used to hold meetings at the Johannesburg City Hall every Sunday night, and when he started working, he used to go to these meetings, but he was still young. He applied to join, and they looked at him and said, "Well, we think you'd better wait until you wear long trousers." Slovo didn't work at SA Druggists very long. He was fired because of his union and party activities. They started a factory group of the party at the company and had a party newspaper in the black toilets, and it survived for about 2 years because they knew that no white person would ever walk into a black toilet. After a year or two, they had a strike, which they won. Then he was fired and got a job at Elephant Trading Company at Market Street. Then he was fired again for his involvement in union activities. Joe Slovo, on what it meant to being a member of the party. Well, it meant that I was committed to being involved in its activities and to spending all my spare time advancing its policies. After losing his job at Elephant Trading, he joined the army. At the time, the party decided that all its white members should join the army to fight against the fascism of Hitler and Mussolini, excluding the black members because they were not allowed to carry arms. He fought in Egypt and Italy and came back after the war was over at the end of 1945. A communist is a person who believes that the only decent way in which people can live is if there are no individuals who live off the labor of others. In simple terms, we are talking about the kind of society where there are no bosses and where the people work together for the good of the community as a whole. After serving in the war, Slovo studied law, and because he was an ex-serviceman, he was able to get a grant to go to university and an exemption for matric, which he never had. He then studied for a BA LLB at Wits, qualified as an advocate, and from 1950 to 1963 practiced law at the bar in Johannesburg. In 1949, he married Ruth First, the daughter of Julius First, the SACP treasurer. The pair was subjected to a number of limitations the next year, since they were among the first 600 individuals designated under the Suppression of Communism Act No. 44 of 1950. Slovo became public enemy number 1 in the eyes of some white people. Here's what he had to say about it. Well, I suppose to be called public enemy number 1 by racists is quite an honor. In 1953, Slovo became a founding member of the Congress of Democrats and served as the organization's representative on the Congress Alliance National Consultative Committee, which was established during the demand for a Congress of the People. Despite being prohibited from attending any events in 1954 by the Suppression of Communism Act, he carried on with his political activities in secret. Slovo helped develop the Freedom Charter, but his limitation order prevented him from attending the Congress of the People in Kliptown. From a nearby rooftop, he observed the events through binoculars. Slovo and other Congress activists were accused of treason in December 1956. In addition to being an accused person, he served as a member of the defense team. He was accused of contempt of court when he objected to the magistrate's conduct of the preparatory examination of the so-called treason trial, but he was found not guilty on appeal. In 1958, the charges of treason against him were withdrawn. Slovo spent 4 months in detention during the 1960 state of emergency that followed the Sharpeville massacre.
The reason the whites of South Africa fear Joe Slovo is because of his connection to the ANC's guerrilla army, uMkhonto Sizwe, said to be 8,000 strong. Their faces are hidden because the ANC filmed these scenes to conceal the identities of their soldiers, whom they say will be sent back into the cities of South Africa on combat missions. Here at their secret camps in Angola, they carry Soviet AK-47s and wear pictures of Lenin on their uniforms. The song they sing is about Joe Slovo. Joe Slovo is our leader. Joe Slovo, Joe Slovo, Joe Slovo is our leader. The reason these black revolutionaries revere Slovo, a white man, is because he founded their army with Nelson Mandela, and for 2 decades he served as its chief of staff. Joe Slovo, Joe Slovo is our leader. How far are you willing to go, Mr. Slovo, to win?
How far?
Oh. Bloodbath if necessary.
Well, I think we must continue the struggle, even if it involves the letting of blood. This is part of the Western democratic heritage, is it not? That if people are living in a tyranny, they try to abolish their tyranny by means which, if there is no other way, involves bloodletting. American people did that more than once in their history.
In 1961, Slovo and Mozambique emerged as the 2 leaders of uMkhonto Sizwe, the military wing of the ANC, formed in alliance between the ANC and the SACP. As one of the first members of the African National Congress uMkhonto Sizwe's military wing, Slovo frequently attended high command meetings at Lily's Leaf Farm in Rivonia. The remaining important members of the High Command, including Walter Sisulu and Govan Mbeki, were apprehended by police a month after he departed the nation on a foreign mission in June 1963. Ruth First, Slovo's wife, was imprisoned for nearly 4 months following the arrest. She and their 3 daughters left the country after she was freed. After moving to Maputo, Mozambique, in 1977 to create an operational center for the ANC, Slovo continued to work for the SACP and the ANC overseas. Ruth First was eliminated in a parcel bomb incident in Maputo 1982. After Mozambique and South Africa signed the Nkomati Accord 2 years later, Slovo was compelled to depart the nation. A British court granted Slovo significant damages in January 1986 in response to a South African newspaper's group allegation that he had planned his wife's murder in the Star after she was assassinated. Slovo was a member of the SACP Central Committee, Chief of Staff at uMkhonto Sizwe until April 1987, and a member of the ANC's Revolutionary Council from 1969 until its dissolution in 1983. After Moses Mabhida passed away in 1986, Slovo became the SACP's General Secretary. In June 1989, the SACP Congress adopted a new program of action to replace its 1962 guidelines. It is accepted that the strategies of armed struggle did not rule out the possibilities of negotiations and compromise. In January 1990, Slovo circulated a document entitled "Has Socialism Failed?", indicating that the SACP would commit itself to a multi-party, post-apartheid democracy, freedom of organization, speech, thought, press, movement, residence, religion, full trade union rights for all workers, including the right to strike, and one person, one vote in free and democratic elections. The SACP and ANC were unbanned in February 1990, and Slovo was elected as the party's general secretary. On the unbanning of the ANC and SACP, the ANC and SACP went unbanned as a present from de Klerk. It was a victory for us. This victory opened up new space for us to take the struggle forward. ANC and SACP alliance has a long history which started from the beginning of the 1920s when the party was formed. The two organizations have always worked together on campaigns like the anti-pass laws. This led eventually to the creation of a formal relationship in 1961, but the South African government saw the ANC as being dominated by the SACP. In 1991, Slovo retired from his position largely because of ill health. He was subsequently elected party chairman at the SACP conference held in December 1991. At the ANC conference held in Durban in July 1991, Slovo was re-elected to the National Executive Committee. He also served on the ANC's National Working Committee. During 1991, Slovo served as an SACP representative on the National Peace Committee. In December, he was present at the Convention for a Democratic South Africa and served on its working group dealing with constitutional principles and a constitution-making body and process. After the 1994 elections, Slovo was elected to the Democratic Cabinet, where he served as Minister of Housing until his untimely death on 6 January 1995.
The song they sing is about Joe Slovo.
Joe Slovo is our leader. Joe Slovo, Joe Slovo, Joe Slovo is our leader.